Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with investingnews.com. I'm speaking with Ivan Fairhall, Managing Director of Australia-based Pivotal Metals, with some exciting news about the company's Horden Lake copper project in Quebec, Canada. Hi, Ivan.
Good morning, Marilyn. How are you?
Good to see you. So let's start our conversation with just sort of an overview of the copper market, with the strengthening market demand for copper, which is being driven not only by the move towards electrification, but also by emerging applications like in AI and data centers, in addition to traditional demand. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in the supply side?
Exactly. Look, copper is a really fantastic commodity to be focusing on at the moment. I can't not touch on the demand side. I'll come on to supply in a second, but yeah, the demand side is really compelling, and that's what's driving. That's what really drives the excitement. The traditional use case for copper remains very robust. It's still got a huge developing world, India and Africa on top of China's recovery. There's massive copper consumption just for traditional uses. Growth will continue at the rate that it has continued for many years, and copper is required for the build out of those infrastructures. So, but then you add to that this exciting kind of transitional use case for copper. Yeah, copper's the common denominator for all electrification. This is not subject to a debate about energy generation or even energy storage. If you believe in electrification in the world, look around you, the world we live in is being driven by electrification, AI, all of those things are coming. And copper is the common denominator for all of those things. You need copper to carry the electrons around. It doesn't really matter how you produce the electrons, but you need to move them around. And that's where copper comes. It's not something that is easily substituted. So you need the metal, and then to come onto the supply side, where is it going to come from? That's the big question that everyone's asking themselves. And there's really very few projects around. And the projects that are around, there's a lot of challenges around bringing projects online today, particular large projects. And I spent a decent chunk of my career working for a private equity fund. And we spent hundreds of millions of dollars investing in copper projects. And therefore we scoured the world looking for them. And those projects that are just sitting there, dripping roast, ready to go and be built, they don't exist, right? It's a challenging thing to find an economic copper deposit, very challenging to permit them and finance them, and to find those projects and bring them online takes time. And the industry has been starved of capital, and so they're just not there. And it's going to take a long time for those things, when people do start to get excited again, for those things to come online. So that's why there's a really exciting supply-demand story building up for the copper market.
When we're talking about copper projects, right, there's low-grade, large-scale copper projects versus higher-grade, lower CapEx projects. When you're speaking to investors, what is the value proposition for an investor when considering a copper investment?
Exactly. I think that's something people really need to recognize. You look at that supply side and you kind of do have quite distinct markets. You've got the porphyry style mineralization, typically lower grade, very high tonnage. And those things are fantastic assets if you get it onto a good one. They can deliver meaningful amounts of copper, and the major miners are interested in those. But there's only a few major miners. Their hurdles are getting larger and larger. You have to have something exceptional to attract the attention of a major miner, and they have to believe it's exceptional because they know it's going to cost billions and billions of dollars and take many years to permit and get the social license to build these projects. So that's great. Look, junior people can invest in the junior market. You can, if you discover a tier one, a top tier project, that is a fantastic result, and you'll be successful. But it must be exceptional. So, that's a risky place because you'll get stranded because there's no company to buy you if you're not exceptional. And if you get stranded, how are you ever going to move the project forward? So that's one side of the supply market of the projects, in these companies. The other side is, I think, the really more interesting side. You've got the smaller scale but higher grade and higher IRR type projects, because they've got the grade, they've got lower capital investments. They're the most important things. They're the very difficult things about projects is permitting and financing. So you need so scale isn't necessarily your friend when you go to permit a project. In fact, quite the opposite. And on the financing side, the absolute value, how much capex in total millions is really important if you want to unlock projects. And you're sort of seeing that on the M&A side, like a lot of the projects that are actually, there's always talk about the big mergers, with Anglo and whatnot. But if you think about the actual deals that have happened in the last 3 years, the deals that Sandfire has acquired, the deals that Adventus Curipamba recently, the CSA mine, those are not big scale projects, but there's a recognition that they can be financed and put into production and bring supply online. And that's how the next mid-tier, there really is no mid-tier these days, and the next mid-tier is going to be built on these projects that actually can be put into production, because that's how you benefit being a copper miner. You take a project and you put it into production. So the guys are looking for, and the pathway to that is through these projects, I believe. And that's why it's the most interesting. And they're trading at huge discounts these days.
Right. And it's probably a good time to talk about your projects, your current projects, and their value propositions. Could you provide an overview of those projects?
Yeah, that's right. So Pivotal's exploring in Quebec. So Quebec is a great jurisdiction. We've got a couple of projects there. Probably the most important and the one that we're focusing most of our attention on at the moment is Horden Lake. It's already quite a large project. We have 28 million tonnes at 1.5% copper equivalent. It's copper dominant with some nickel, PGM and palladium gold credits. There's substantial upside already on the project, and it's got great access to infrastructure, and it's in this great location in Quebec where there's 22 operating mines, there's smelters. That is the sort of place you want to build a project. Pro mining, they know the benefits, particularly in the north, of mining, and to come back to some of those points around, generating value. You've got something of value, and you want to be able to realize that eventually. That is pathway to production. So we've got a very good asset. It's got a lot of potential to grow. And I'm going to take you through, hopefully, I think a little bit later, some of the recent results, which is really opening up that upside story. Just quickly on our other projects, we're also exploring in the south of Quebec, or just below the Abitibi. We've consolidated a very large land package there, about 150 square kilometres, with a number of really exciting exploration prospects, places where mineralization has been found. This is just not Moose Buncher. There's some significant discoveries, 10 to 20 meters in parts of sort of 2 to 4% copper and nickel, not plus, but with big precious and PGM credits. And so we've done a little bit of work on one of those projects. We did an NT survey, and that allowed us to delineate a really big system that's something we need to go and explore. And there's a bunch of other stuff that we're quite focused on to build out a big exploration package at the right time to go and make new discoveries on that project.
And one particular project, you've had some fantastic results from drilling work at Horden Lake. Could you talk about the highlights of those results?
Yeah, yes. We have had just put out. Well, we've been drilling. We did 7,100 meters of drilling in the winter, and those results are just starting to come out now. We've put out 9 holes of a 34-hole program, so still plenty more to come. But what we're seeing in those results is exactly what we set out to achieve. It's exactly what we believed the asset can deliver. And that is in particular focusing on the exploration upside potential of the project. This project's got a couple of kilometres of strike. It's really not being drilled to depth across the whole strike. Only about 500-600 metres of it has been drilled. And we're just starting to test that down plunge extension of the project. And the drill holes we just put out recently, 32 metres, 1.2% copper equivalent, includes 14 metres at 1.8% copper equivalent. And we couple holes like that with downhole geophysics. So the downhole EM allows you to sort of project out and around the hole that you've drilled, and it gives you really good confidence that mineralization extends it. And just with the couple of results we put out now, it's very clear. We've got a couple of hundreds of meters of strike extent that's completely open with some of the best mineralization we've discovered on the project. I think we've got more results coming. You can push that out to the northeast, and there's more results coming to the southwest. And I think you're going to see the down plunge extension of this project really open up even more than it already has. And if you take a step back, you realize, you see the mineralization in the central part of the deposit. There's really no reason. It just hasn't been drilled. And so this really opens up the substantial sort of upside potential we've got to grow this project. And it's very exciting. Some of the other results we've done, we were also focused, we've done some effectively infill drilling, but it's not so much infill from a geological confidence perspective, although that will help. What we've been looking to target there is there's big parts of the deposit, in fact, that have only ever been assayed for copper and nickel. Now, where we've got multi-element assay, for example, in the central part of the deposit, there's really significant, from a value perspective, byproduct credits there: gold, platinum, palladium, cobalt, silver. They've never been taken in these other parts of the deposit. So we're infilling that information, and it allows us in the second half to update the resource with not only the tonnages, the extension drilling that we've done and we just talked about a moment ago, but also expand out the domaining of these minor metals that actually do add up to being fairly significant value. And that'll allow us to increase the overall grade of the project. So you get that sort of double bump of tons plus grade, and that's just going to continue to advance the Horden Lake opportunity from an exploration perspective. And then you really have a significant asset, and there's going to be, because of the downhole geophysics, there's going to be further opportunities to grow the resources through additional drilling in future phases. For example, we'll be doing some more drilling at the end of the year.
That's exciting. Those are exciting results indeed. What are the next steps then for the project?
Well, we've still got more results to come. So it's there's plenty of news to come. We've got, as I said, I think about 25 holes still remaining, and it's a combination of testing those down plunge and along strike extensions, growing the footprint of the mineralization, plus adding those additional grades. So plenty of news to come, and we'll be converting, and then we'll go on to convert those results. We're going to do some met test work to firm up the flow sheet, and then we'll be converting those results into an updated resource to show that show the benefits of what we've achieved with drilling. We already are thinking about and planning our next drill program. We've got targets to follow up on, and we'll be continuing to advance that resource exploration drilling. But then also, since we've been working on the project, because we've only been working on the project about a year, the regional is massively underdone. We'll be sharing some more information about the opportunities outside of that resource area to make new discoveries, satellite type discoveries, and you'll be able to start to look at the potential of the project itself to grow around the existing resource plus proximal to it. And we've got more targets than I think that we'll be able to drill. So we've got plenty of news to come and a plan to advance the project. In parallel, we know that these things become value when the cycle turns. They become valuable because they can be mined. And so we're very keen to advance the project, economic studies around it, start the permitting process. We've been doing desktop work there on a lot of those engineering and technical fronts to get ahead of the game on the long lead time stuff and advance that project up the curve, because ultimately when the copper market really rips, and it will, the prices will rise and people will realize you need to build new projects and the incentive will be there. The quicker that you can get your project or the person who wants to buy you potentially, the quicker that they can get that project into production, the more value that they will give you for that during that cycle. And so we know, we've seen this before. We know that's how to create a lot of value, and we're focused on both sides of the exploration side to make it bigger, as well as the de-risking side to allow you to realize more of the value that you've discovered.
Oh, so certainly exciting times ahead for the company. Thanks again, Ivan, for sharing your company news today.
Thanks a lot for having me on.
And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another edition of CEO Insights. If you like this video, like or leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exclusive interviews and updates.